I'm Hande the dietitian, and welcome to Healthy Made Simple, where I show you how to make healthy eating simple. In this video, I will be sharing 5 healthy blood sugar tricks. Now, for a little bit over a week now, I have been wearing a continuous glucose monitor. This is a sample that I got from a friend. It's a 10-day sample, so I only have a few days left on it. And if you are not familiar with these, it's basically a blood glucose or a blood sugar monitor that takes your blood sugars every 5 minutes, and there's an app where you can monitor in real time what is happening with your blood sugars. And this has been such an eye-opening experience for me. As a disclaimer, I don't have diabetes or pre-diabetes, but I was almost diagnosed with gestational diabetes when I was pregnant. I barely missed the mark, and my OBGYN at the time said, imagine as if you had gestational diabetes. Just because you missed the mark by a little bit doesn't mean that your blood sugars are fine, and that I needed to be mindful of it. And as a person who has a huge sweet tooth, who loves carbs, I've always been afraid of getting diabetes down the line, and I've always been trying to be mindful of my blood sugars. So this has been an amazing way of getting some real-time data on how my blood sugars are doing with how I'm eating. And so in this video, I wanted to share with you those 5 tricks or lessons that I learned. And these are all things that I've known to be facts, evidence-based facts that I've learned as a dietitian when I was going through schooling in my master's program. But it was really nice to be able to see them applied in real life and to truly see, once you do these tricks, how well your blood sugar responds to it. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with how to put these on, this was actually a really simple process. I was a little bit scared it was going to hurt, but it wasn't bad at all. You just start out by washing your hands, and then you got to make sure you clean the area with an alcohol wipe so it's nice and clean and dry. And then there is the little device that comes with it that you put up to your arm. And this is where I kind of freaked out a little bit. I was afraid that when I pushed it in that it was really going to hurt. But it wasn't that bad at all. I didn't even feel a pinch. I just shoved it in there and it stayed on. It's this device right here. And then afterwards, you put the sticker around it to keep it in place. And mine has been in place for a little over a week, as I mentioned, and it's still holding on pretty strong. And I've been trying to be mindful of it. I bonked it a few times, which kind of hurt a little bit. But other than that, it's not really uncomfortable. The first day was probably the most uncomfortable where I felt it there. Now it's like I don't even know it's there, which is why I forget and bump into things sometimes. But if you ever get a chance to get your hands on something like this, whether you have diabetes or not, I highly, highly recommend that you take advantage of it. I was lucky enough to get this sample from a friend, so if you get that opportunity, or if you have the opportunity to purchase one of these, it's a really good way of seeing how your body is reacting. And if you don't have diabetes or pre-diabetes, it's a really great way to take some preventative measures for your health and your blood sugars. So with that little background, I'm going to move on to those 5 healthy blood sugar tricks that I learned in the last week and got to practice and see in true real life how they pan out. So I'm ready to share those with you. Alrighty, if you're interested in hearing, stay tuned. Let's go. Now, the first blood sugar trick is that it's better to eat smaller, more frequent meals versus 2 to 3 large meals in a day. If we think about it, your blood sugar spike is related to how many carbs you're taking in a day, right? Now, if you're following a keto diet, this doesn't necessarily apply because keto food is not going to raise your blood sugars, but I don't preach a keto diet, even if you have diabetes. I'm all about a balanced diet, which does include carbs, but the portion of carbs we have on our plate or our bowl is going to determine how high up our blood sugars are going to spike. And it's better to do those smaller, frequent meals. And I tested this multiple times where I had some large meals, like a large lunch or a large dinner, and my blood sugars went woo high, versus when I did smaller meals throughout the day. And when I say small, frequent meals, I mean you're doing a breakfast, morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack, and dinner. About 5 times a day that you're eating. Now, for those of you that maybe are used to just doing a lunch and a dinner, that's a very common combination for a lot of people who tend to skip breakfast, or maybe they do something really small for breakfast. They typically do a bigger lunch and a bigger dinner. For those of you that think about this 5 meals a day schedule, you might think there's no way I could eat that often. But keep in mind that when you are doing these frequent meals, the portion size is going to be much smaller compared to when you do your big lunches and big dinners. And even though you might think, you know what, I'm never hungry enough in the morning to eat, I'm not going to be hungry enough to eat a snack in between. Even if you think that, I challenge you to give it a try. Try doing 5 small frequent meals just for a week. And I know it takes a little bit more planning to do because you got to think about your snacks and make sure you pack those, especially if you go off to work. I know it requires a little bit more thinking, but your blood sugars will thank you. It's so much better for your blood sugars to do a small little snack and a smaller meal, but still make sure you're getting all the calories and protein and fat that you need in a day versus doing these larger meals that are going to spike up your blood sugars a lot higher. My second blood sugar trick is going to be to walk after you eat. There is a huge benefit to going on just even a 20-minute walk after you eat, and how much it helps with bringing your blood sugars down a lot quicker after a meal. And I've tested this out where I had a bowl of noodles and I just sat around afterwards and my blood sugars went really high, versus I had the same bowl of noodles, but then I went on a walk for 20 minutes afterwards and my blood sugars came back down so much quicker. And I'm sure you've heard this before, and considering that we're in the winter months right now and that it's cold outside, you may think, you know what, going on a walk is not really feasible for me after dinner, especially it's dark and cold outside, or maybe during lunchtime, you don't have that much time, or you don't have the space to go out and walk to. You can always walk in place or just kind of go back and forth. And I do this every night. We call them my fart walks. My son likes calling them my fart walks because it does make you fart. It does get your digestive tract going and get that gas moving, which is a good thing as well too. But my camera right now is actually located right in front of our TV in our living room. So after dinner every day, I stand in this position, this place that I'm standing in right now, and I just walk. A lot of times I walk in place, or sometimes if I'm feeling up to it, I'll go back and front and just go back and forth. And I have my TV right in front of me, so I'm just watching TV at night. But I do this as soon as I finish my meal. I don't know what it was when we were little. They would tell us like after you eat, you had to sit and digest and you couldn't go swimming. But I found that it actually does not hurt my digestive tract at all, but instead helps when as soon as I finish my last bite and I put my bowl away, I just come here right in the spot that you're seeing and just walk back and forth like this for 20 minutes. And it gives me more steps. It helps my blood sugars. It's a win-win. And I feel really good after I'm done. And I feel better digested. My digestive tract feels better too. So I challenge you to do that. Even for a lunch break, if you're at work, if you get a 30-minute lunch break, try to eat your lunch quickly in the first maybe 10 to 15 minutes. And for those last 15 minutes, if you have a chance to get some fresh air and go on a walk, that's even better. But if not, if you have some office space where you can just kind of walk in place, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but hopefully you have some private area where you can do it, maybe an office where you can close your door to do it. If not, you have space to go outside to do it. But just even getting in 10, 15 minutes, whatever you can do, just get your body moving after a meal and your blood sugars will come back down so much easier. Now, the third blood sugar trick I'm going to tell you is that the order in which you eat your food matters. Now, with a balanced plate, we have 3 components that we need to fill, right? We need to make sure we have vegetables to be half of our plate. Got a cucumber here as an example. We want to make sure protein is a quarter of our plate. Got some cheese sticks, which have protein. And we want to make sure carbs are a quarter of our plate. I got some pitas here as an example. Now, when we have that sort of setup on our plate, I do suggest trying to keep these compartmentalized as much as you can versus all of it mixed together, because the order in which you eat those components will make a difference in how your blood sugar responds. Ideally, you want to eat your vegetable first, right? Vegetables are low carb, especially the non-starchy vegetables I'm talking about, like your leafy greens, cucumbers, tomatoes, not potatoes and corn, which would be starchy, but the non-starchy vegetables that are a slew of vegetables that we can pick from. If you eat the non-starchy vegetables first, which are going to be lower carb and higher fiber, followed by your protein. And I mean a significant amount of protein. I brought these cheese sticks as an example, but one of these cheese sticks has 5 grams of protein. And I find that 5 grams is not enough. You want to get closer around like 15 grams for this to truly make a difference. And I think having at least 15 grams in a meal is a reasonable amount to aim for, which would be 3 cheese sticks, and 3 cheese sticks is a lot of cheese sticks to have. So this is more of a protein option for a snack. For a mealtime, it would be something that's like a meat or a non-meat option that's going to be higher protein. I just didn't want to pull meat out of my fridge right now to show you, so I have these cheese sticks as an example. But what I mean is, first you eat your vegetables, then you eat your protein, and then you eat your carbs last. And when you do it in that order, your blood sugar spike is not going to go as high. And the perfect example of this is when I had In-N-Out for dinner one night, and I made it a point to eat it in a specific order. Now with my In-N-Out order, I ordered a protein-style cheeseburger with grilled onions, and I ordered a normal side of French fries on the side. And I ate the whole thing. And I'm showing you the blood sugars right now. You'll see that I did have a little bit of a spike, which is expected, of course. I did eat a whole thing of French fries, but it really wasn't that bad. And it came down relatively quickly. And that's because I started with the vegetables first. So I'd gotten the protein style burger, which already has the lettuce around it. My son didn't want to eat his lettuce and tomato, so I started with his lettuce and tomato. Then I moved on to my protein style burger, where I ate my veggies and my protein at the same time. And after I had finished all of that, then I had my French fries. And you'll notice that my blood sugar spike wasn't as high, and it did come back down relatively quickly after that. So that's a great way of doing In-N-Out. If you do like going to In-N-Out or any burger place, get the burger to be a protein style burger. Eat the burger with the veggies first, do your fries last to avoid a large spike in blood sugar. And the same thing applies with any meal. Just kind of keep that in mind. And it's also a good way of making sure you get all your veggies and your protein in before you fill up. And then the carbs are kind of just the cherry on top for you to enjoy. Now, my 4th blood sugar trick is to reduce your stress. And we all know that we need to reduce our stress for so many different reasons, right? We know stress is not good for our health. Well, blood sugar is another reason why we need to be mindful of our stress. I was really shocked by the amount of blood sugar spikes that resulted from stressful periods that I had within the last week, even when I was on an empty stomach. And I'm going to show you a great example of that. This is from yesterday. Yesterday was a bit of a tough day after school with my son. We had a little bit of a tough time, maybe not a little bit, a lot bit of a tough time. And you can see all of those blood sugar spikes. You see my blood sugars going up and down, up and down, up and down. I was hungry on an empty stomach for a lot of what you're seeing. There was just so much stress going on that I didn't even have time to eat. And even on an empty stomach, when my blood sugars should be low, they were going crazy high from the stress, as high as they would go if I were to eat a high carb meal. So that just goes to show you, this is just one example of it. I got to see this over and over again. Managing our stress is so important. And I know a lot of times we can't control some of the stressors in life. Like I can't control what people around me do, how they react to things, but I can control how I react to it and how I allow my body to react to it too. And at the end of the day, when we're stressed, our cortisol levels are spiking, which is leading to a blood sugar spike, and I need to stop that cortisol from spiking. So whatever it takes for you to manage your stress, for me, it's a lot of deep breathing, a lot of deep breaths. I like box breathing, where you breathe in, hold, and exhale, especially in a stressful moment. If someone is stressing me out, I don't mind doing my breathing exercises in front of them to calm my body down in that moment, to avoid all the negative effects that are going to come from that stress, including the negative effects on my blood sugar. So this is another gentle reminder to manage your stress for so many reasons, including managing your blood sugar. My fifth and final blood sugar trick is to avoid high carb dinners. I have noticed that when we do a high carb dinner, our blood sugars tend to go up even more at night. And that's because there's some sort of an accumulation going on too, right? If you do a bigger lunch, let's say, especially if you do your lunch a little bit on the later side, and then you do an afternoon snack, by the time dinner rolls around, your blood sugars may already be on the higher end. And then now you're adding a high carb meal on top of that. So your blood sugars are going even higher. And chances are you're going to be pretty sedentary after dinner. Hopefully you take that 20-minute walk that I suggested. But even if you do that after dinner, you're not using as much of that glucose that's coming into your body. And you want to make sure that you don't have that big blood sugar spike at night and go into bedtime when your blood sugars have come down to normal as well too. And the best way to do that is to keep your dinner on the lower carb side and skew those higher carb items that you want to have earlier in the day when your body has a chance to burn through it, to process it and digest it, versus late at night when you're sedentary. For me personally, this was one of the discoveries that I found, was that when I had a high carb dinner, my blood sugars would go high, and then they would actually drop into the too low range overnight. So the system has an alert where when your blood sugar drops too low, it sends you an alert to say, hey, your blood sugar is dropping too low. And the only times this has happened to me have been when I had a higher carb dinner. And I do think that's correlated because with a higher carb dinner, I'm getting a bigger spike in blood sugar. And typically when you get that bigger spike, it tends to be a bigger drop afterwards as well too, which is what is leading to that too low notification I'm getting at night. And this is how insulin resistance starts. It's those big spikes and drops and spikes and drops, and that leads to insulin resistance over time. So we want to try to avoid that. We want to keep those spikes as low as possible. And doing a low carb dinner gives your body a chance to work through the carbs that you've already had throughout the day and to not introduce a lot of extra carbs late at night when you're not going to be very active. So I do recommend doing that. Try to keep dinner a low carb dinner. Keep the portion sizes of the carbs smaller at dinner time. You don't have to completely eliminate it, but just keep it smaller at dinner time for a better blood sugar management at nighttime. That's going to help you get better sleep at night as well too. And that's all of my blood sugar tricks. I know this was a bit of a longer video, but I hope this gave you some good information. These are all things that we as dietitians know and practice, but it's really nice to be able to see it personally apply to me and to be able to see the data in real life with how my body is responding. So this has been quite the learning experience for me, and I wanted to share it with you with the hopes that some of this will stick somewhere in your brain and you'll remember my voice the next time you're trying to do things that are better for your health and better for your blood sugars. Thank you so much for watching Healthy Made Simple. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more videos where I continue to show you how to make healthy eating and healthy living simple at home. Thanks again, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.